So I've been in television for over 30 years. Spent the bulk of my career at the ABC television network, and have been freelance. Started my own company about 4 years ago, and I'm a freelance editor, post-production editor. Since branching out into freelance, I've had the opportunity to work on a wider variety of projects, and it's not quite pick and choose, but it's I'm able to steer myself in a particular direction, and for myself, that's more towards long form storytelling, documentary work. It's the kind of work that I enjoy more. That ability to contribute to shaping the story and finding the best way to tell the story is what I find interesting about editing. I got interested in films early on. We didn't get to go to a lot of movies when I was a kid, but we did see some of the big ones. I remember when the Green Beret came out. I don't even know what year that was, but that was a big family event, you know. And we would go to the drive-in a lot. Pile all the kids into the station wagon, and so I was exposed to the sort of the creative magic of the movies through that. I went to a communications school in Boston called Graham Junior College. It doesn't exist anymore. It was right in Kenmore Square, around the corner from Fenway, and it was a really cool communications school in that it was a small college. So rather than a lot of tenured faculty, it had a lot of broadcast professionals that would teach there part-time. So you're really getting a good foundation in the way the real world of television worked. So Graham had a sort of a feeder line into ABC, because ABC knew that they were getting, you know, fairly qualified people to fill their summer relief positions, for example. So I sort of rode the coattails of the college's reputation into a job at ABC, and I started at ABC about 3 weeks after I graduated from college. I spent a lot of my time, my early time at ABC, working for World News Tonight, and that the flagship evening news broadcast. And we started out on 2-inch videotape, and then eventually did a lot of work on 1-inch videotape. And so for 10 years, I was working in the main tape room for the evening news show, and it was playing Beat the Clock every day. It was, we'd taken feeds from satellite feeds from all over the world. We still had, the networks had bureaus everywhere back then, and so they would just shoot and feed us the bulk tape, and we would edit on 1-inch. We would edit the piece together based off of the track and the script and the video that came in, and you were constantly in a mad rush to make air. And it would be editing a piece with 2 minutes to go to air, and you would still be making, the edits, and the producer would stand behind you saying, looking at the clock and saying, we got time for one more edit, and you would try to put one more piece of B-roll in to shape the piece a little bit better. And there were times when we would have the first half of a piece come in, and we would roll that to air while the second half of the piece was still coming in off the satellite. I came up with the idea of taking a still frame from a video of a particular player and printing that out and giving that to the artist, and having him with the same attitude and the same dimensions and the same visual aesthetic, sort of turn that guy into a superhero, so that we could, go to that drawing and then go back to the footage as he starts to run, for example, and make the whole framework and the context sort of a comic book. We took those images, and we were able to turn that into a visual tease that was very dynamic and very creative, and being able to work on those kinds of projects, kept me interested. Kept me motivated me to try to think that way more often, and to try to be more than just an editor, to be part of a collaborative team, creating something unique. I had been an editor at ABC for 31 years, and in the ongoing effort to cut costs and manage the business, ABC brought in some consultants, some efficiency consultants, and so they opted to close down the department. And at the 11th hour, they offered me a way to stay on if I wanted to go back to the videotape department, or I wanted to go to the graphics department, or do something. They couldn't quite pin down what I would do, but they realized that they were sort of making an error and letting a lot of talented and productive people go. But by that time, once they told me they were closing down the department, I started to do my due diligence. It was May of 2012. I was sitting right here doing my thing. I just finished with a client for the day, and sent them on their way, and was sitting back having a beer and transcoding some footage for the next day. And all of a sudden the room started spinning. Worse than any drunken binge you've ever had. Ended up being a stroke. They think I had a tear in the left vertebral artery in my neck, which denied blood flow to a certain part of the brain, and it knocked me for a loop. And I was in the hospital for 12 days or so, and came out of it with with my brain in distress, just really fatigued. I lost my ability to swallow completely, so I had a feeding tube put into my stomach, and my whole right side was affected. Not strangely, not in a motor sense, like a lot of people with strokes. I never lost the use of any extremities or anything, but sensation-wise, sensory, numbness and discomfort, down my entire right side. Those kind of jobs where the money wasn't great, and and it wasn't a full-blown infrastructure. It was kind of on the cheap, so I would have had to drag cases through an airport, and take a flight there, and the hours were going to be long and late, and I don't do so great with long and late anymore. So it's really cut down on the amount of work that I take drastically, and the type of work that I'm comfortable taking. I'm sort of I rally for the documentary work that my producers come up with. So one or two pieces a year. And it could be a few months' work each time, but it's not crashing. It's like you have a deadline of months away rather than days away or hours away, which makes it a little easier to deal with. The producers have become friends of mine over the years too, so they're as solicitous to my situation as they can be, while still having budgets and deadlines themselves to meet. And so I try to work a little bit more out of the house, because that's easier physically as well. Takes the commute away. And I don't know what the future is going to bring for that. I suck it up and I fight through it for the documentary work, because I still love it, and I'm still capable of doing it. It's just not always easy. But past that, I'm not sure how much. I'm not sure if I'm ever going to get back to the kind of work and the volume of work that I was doing before. it doesn't seem like I'm physically capable of it, and it also it doesn't seem as necessary maybe as it used to be. You know, as I've had time to reflect, you know, it killed me to bag out on the Olympics. You know, but only for a few days. Like once I wrapped my mind around it and was able to look at the big picture. I'm kind of a big picture guy. You know, I realized that, you know, it's not that important in the overall scheme of things. You know, the fact that I can still you know, see my wife every day and talk to her, and you know, I didn't take a devastating cognitive hit from the stroke, which, you know, certainly could have happened. That I get to see my kids and move them into college and go to their graduations and hug them and stuff like that. You know, puts things in perspective.